Welcome back to the Caregiver Minute, where every weekday family and professional caregivers gather to refine their skills, gain inspiration, and prepare to serve. This morning, as I was driving to the office, I took my normal route, and halfway there, I realized I was in serious trouble. I was driving right toward a huge wall of traffic. There was road construction in that area, and things were backed up so far, I thought it might take an hour to get through there. So I found a nearby parking lot, I turned around, and I went a different direction and took a completely different route to the office. Along the way, I noticed that I was paying much more attention to things on the side of the road and everything going on around me than I normally did. When I travel the more familiar route, it's like I can tune out and I just listen to podcasts or other educational material while I'm driving, and I'm not all that attentive to what's going on to the sides of me because I've seen it all before. Or at least it feels that way. It takes something really unique along that normal route to work to catch my attention. Well, this is a lot like life. Business consultant Liz Wiseman, who grew up and learned how to lead in an organization in the early days at Oracle before stepping out on her own, once said, "Sometimes the more we know, the less we see around us. We develop some tunnel vision. We're less attentive to all the details, because we know what we're doing. We develop a level of confidence and competence that causes us to be a little bit blinded." She once talked about the importance of not knowing things and how important it is to maintain a fresh perspective any way that we possibly can. In fact, her consulting group has done some research on organizations to identify how people who don't know as much, who are newer, who haven't learned as much and are not as seasoned, approach challenges differently than those with more experience. And she noticed that those that are a little bit greener tend to have more creative ideas. They tend to ask a lot more people for their insight and help, and so they're filtering through a lot more inputs. And that tends to lead to rapid iteration and growth and perspective that's exciting and energizing for an organization. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot to be said for experience. There's a lot to be said for the wisdom that comes from making some mistakes and figuring out better ways of doing things. But how do we overcome this Achilles heel that knowledge and experience can become? This blindness that comes when we think that we know. Well, Liz Wiseman, in a talk that I heard, offered a really helpful question. She said, "How does what I know get in the way of what I don't know, but need to learn?" There's a lot to chew on with a question like that. Overall, I think one of the most important things that we can do to maintain our creativity, to find new solutions, and to have a fresh perspective, whether we're talking about caregiving or family relationships or in organizations or anything else in our life, is to learn to ask really good questions. In fact, a simple exercise that any of us could try is to spend a lot more of our day responding to others by asking questions. If we're in a search to ask better questions, we're maintaining that fresh perspective and we're understanding that we don't have all the answers. We're probably blinded to some things simply by the fact that we're traveling similar roads in our lives. And once we start to ask those better questions, our mind becomes a little bit more aware of different possibilities around us. So today, I invite you to spend some time asking better questions. Or maybe you consider that question from Liz Wiseman. How does what I know get in the way of what I don't know but need to learn? I hope that's helpful to you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for another episode of the Caregiver Minute.